Shalom. Shalom. It's following Yeshua. Welcome again to the Rock. On my Patreon channel, I was asked a question that I'm going to answer here on this YouTube channel. In fact, this will probably be a small mini-series. And the question that was asked was, following Yeshua, what vegetables would you grow to feed a family, to provide the family with the energy and the nutrients that they would need. And so I chose my family, and I have a very large family for those of you that don't know. A very large family. Staying here, living here with me, wives and children. So, what food would you grow for a shit hits the fan situation, or Great Depression that lasts years, more than 1 year, so multiple years? What foods would you grow? And then the sister asked, could you give us 5 of them? So I will. But before I dive into it, I wanted to tell you what, in my reasoning of thinking, Christian from Ice Age Farmer. If you're not subscribed to him, I love Christian from Ice Age Farmer. Love his information. He had a video on yesterday where a guy was talking about gardening, and I noticed that not his way, but some of his rationale met and matched some of my rationale. For instance, the most important thing for me, if you're talking about Great Depression, or especially a shit hits the fan situation, or without rule of law, whatever it may be, is calories. Calories I put higher than nutrients. As far as those sorts of situations. So when it comes to growing food, I look for food that is going to be calorie dense first, and then second, the possibility of it also having nutrients. So a lot of the foods that you're going to hear me say meet that criteria. Second is storability. Does the food store? A lot of foods that you grow today, once you pull it out of the ground, or once it's reached past it's produced its fruit, unless you can it or something like that, it starts to degrade. It starts to break down. So people can, there's root cellars and things like that. But one of the greatest things that I like about some of the techniques that I use is I let my soil, I let that be where I store my food. So one thing you'll find out is that I am going to pick a lot of root crops. And for those that don't know, who do you think you are? I have eaten and have, as far as vegetables go, I have grown all of the vegetables to feed my whole family for the last 2.5 years. We have not gone to the grocery store to buy a single vegetable. And if you've seen my videos, and you've been on the channel the amount of time you've seen, I grow potatoes, I grow a lot of different foods, greens and root crops and berries, and to make sure that my family has all the nutrients that they're going to need as far as vegetables go. And now fruit is what we're doing this year, or what we've been doing it, but we upping the game on fruit this year, to make sure that I have an ample amount of trees. But back to the topic. So one of the things I look at is the storability. Second thing I look at is seed. I want something that produces seed. I want something that it's not a complicated process to harvest seed. I want something that goes to seed easily. So one of the things you'll find out that I chose in this is I chose a lot of root crops, because root crops store well. We've had freezes out here. We've had temperatures down to 4 degrees, 5 degrees out here so far this year. Well, single digits, 7 degrees. And I'm still pulling radishes out of the ground. So there's a clue. That's one of my foods that I would choose, is radishes. And that's for more the nutrients side. But also I have many other reasons I'll be talking about. So in every video, I'm going to cover one thing. I'm going to cover one thing per video. So for this verse video, I know a lot of people are looking at it and saying, well, potatoes. And I am a big proponent of potatoes. I love potatoes. I grow potatoes. We're still eating potatoes that we grew in the year, the Roman year 2021. Still eating potatoes. But that's not what I would choose as far as shit hits the fan. Or depression. What would I choose? The Jerusalem artichoke. Why? Because in growing the Jerusalem artichoke, and let me show you, I'm in one of my gardens right now, we are still eating artichokes from this small garden right here. This small garden. And we haven't even harvested and touched the artichokes in that garden. Haven't even touched those. All those are Jerusalem artichokes. And, here, the children eat them raw. The wives eat them raw. They'll come out here, clean them up, and just start snacking on them. They like them like that. They think they're very good. A lot of people don't know about Jerusalem artichokes. And shameless plug, yes, I sell Jerusalem artichokes. If you're looking for them, I sell them. But they're very easy to grow, in my experience. Very easy to grow. And they're not as temperamental as other foods. I grow potatoes. I like potatoes. I have found out for myself that Jerusalem artichokes are more drought tolerant than potatoes are. Also, they grow in different soils that potatoes may not grow in. You don't necessarily have to trench for Jerusalem artichokes. But let me show you some. In this garden right here. We're still eating from in here, so I'm going to dig some up for you. Look at this one right here. Look at that. Look at this. I don't know if you can see this. I hope I have my camera pointed in the right direction. This one right here. That's a Jerusalem artichoke. I have some over here that we harvested. There's a little seed artichoke right there. It's a perfect little seed choke. Right there. I love Jerusalem artichokes. One of the things that makes them so easy is they're invasive. So once you plant them, they're going to grow and grow and grow, and you can't possibly get all the little seed artichokes out. So if you dedicated a 25 by 25 foot, 30 by 30 foot, 50 by 50 foot area, and I have some more areas that I am growing artichokes in, if you just planted them and left them year after year, you would have an ample amount of carbohydrates, calories, vitamin A, manganese, iron, fiber, in just the Jerusalem artichoke. Here's some interesting stats, and people say, well, calories, and calories are important because that's the first thing that I would grow when we're talking about shit hits the fan, we're talking about the Great Depression type thing. Calories are important. But check this out. A cup of diced white potatoes has about 116 calories. A diced cup. A diced cup of Jerusalem artichokes has anywhere between 110 to 112 calories. So you're not missing a whole lot as far as calorie density. Also, I mentioned they're easier to grow. They're invasive. You just leave them in the soil. You don't harvest them until you need them. If you want some artichokes, you come out here and harvest them. Whatever you don't harvest, the next year they will root and they will spread. That back there, that you see back there, that is a year and a half to 2 years of artichokes. And it's just dense in there. I'm going to take you over there. It is dense with the amount of artichokes that we have growing in here. Let me just see. I'm just going to wipe out a little bit of dirt from an area. That's a rock. Okay, let's just pull this up. Pulling one of the plants up. Gotcha, soiled up. Nope, that's a rock. That's a rock. That's a rock. I don't like having rocks in my... There they are. You see that? You see this? This is how easy they are to grow. And I'll just bury those. And I'll leave them in here. And year after year, what you don't harvest, look how small the seeds are. You see how small that one is? And year after year, they'll come back. Look at that nice size one. Right? Look at that one. That one's going into the soil. I'm making sure that we're just getting it. And they will literally take over a garden area. Literally. There's some more right there. And they'll just spread and spread and spread and spread and spread. Literally, we'll get from one baby choke, um, 3 to 5 pounds of Jerusalem artichokes from just one that was planted, from one little baby, one of those little seeds. We'll get anywhere from 3 to 5 pounds of your, depending on what kind of what your soil is like. But you're going to get food, calories. And one of the things that I like about the artichoke, Jerusalem artichoke, is that pound for pound, it's more nutrient dense than potatoes. Look it up on the internet. Look it up. It has more. It has a vitamin A, has iron, fiber, manganese, magnesium, potassium. Not as much potassium as a potato, but it does have potassium. But it has way more vitamin A. There's just so many different nutrients that it has, either at the same level, a little bit less, or more than a potato. So you're not being robbed by planting them. Cooking them, I'm gonna have the sisters actually do some videos on cooking the artichokes so that people can see how we actually cook them. And they cook them, and we love them, but they also eat them raw. The children will go and they'll eat them raw. Now, they will give you gas. That's one of the side effects. But hey, if we're talking about SHTF situation, if a family's eating a bunch of Jerusalem artichokes, nobody may want to come after you because they may not be able to stand the smell. I'm just saying. That's a funny, everybody. But again, you can leave those in the soil. You can leave them in the soil, and they'll produce year after year, and you just go and harvest them as you need. They grow deep. So, now I was sweeping away the surface. If you have really good soil, and the soil back here, that's all leaves. It's just broken down leaves, and it's probably 8 inches deep right now, just broken down leaves. They will loosen up the soil, and they'll grow deep. So you'll have Jerusalem artichokes in the soil. You'll think you have them. The garden I showed you at first, I've been trying to get them all out of that garden for a year, 2 years now, because it's supposed to be a basil garden. I'm going to be growing my basils there. I can't, because the Jerusalem artichokes year after year, we harvest all of them, or we think we harvest all of them, and they come back year after year after year. So I'm losing the fight. I may just have to go grow my basil somewhere else. So along with it being nutrient dense, along with it being easy to grow, you don't have to harvest them, pull them out, dig a root cellar to store them. Nutrient dense, it's invasive, it's going to take over wherever you plant them. So if you had an area, you don't have to save seed artichokes. All you have to do is just leave them in the soil. And the next year, as soon as the temperature gets warm up enough, they'll start sprouting out of the soil, and you have Jerusalem artichokes again. So I find the Jerusalem artichoke as, for me, in my household, one probably the most important if it came down to that, because you could literally go to an area right now on your property and just clear out some trees, put some leaves down, put some Jerusalem artichokes on top of the leaves, put some composted, we make our own compost there. So put some compost on top of that, bury it, 3-4 inches deep, and walk away. And if we had another 2 years, 3 years, 5 years before, a SHTF situation happened, or, some sort of economic situation where the shells weren't, they look like they are right now, or the monetary collapse, you're going to have food sitting back there that all you have to do is just go and dig it up. And year after year, it's going to produce. And some of those artichokes, if you don't harvest them, they'll get as big as, we pulled some out that were probably as big as eggplants. I'm talking artichokes that were like that big. Literally that big. And, for most of them, you'll probably get on the size of a lemon. They'll probably be the size of a lemon. Some will be the size of a lime. We pulled some out that are the size of the apples in the first year. But we've had some that are the size of eggplants. And that's the second year that they've been in the soil. So that's something that you could do right now that I consider is one of the most valuable, because you don't have to do a bunch of maintenance. You don't have to harvest all of them. You don't have to pull them all up. You just leave them. That's it. Plant them and leave them. And you're going to have a calorie-dense food, nutrient even, I would say, dense, more nutrient-dense than potatoes, growing on your soil. A food that is just waiting for you to harvest it and waiting for you to cook it. See if I'm missing anything. I'm just shooting off from the top of my head why I choose the artichoke. This also, the plant itself, This stuff is great for kindling. I'm just saying. So, there's just another byproduct. It has like I don't know if you can see inside there. It's like a foam, and that foam actually is flammable. So again, if you're looking for Jerusalem artichokes, I have them. I have red ones and I have white ones. I don't know which ones. I just kind of plant them all in the same area, so they're all just growing. I haven't noticed a difference in the taste and anything like that. Look up the nutrients. Look up the comparison. Go on your Google and type in compare the nutrient value comparison of the Jerusalem artichoke and the potato. Now you'll find some things that are pretty astounding as far as how valuable a Jerusalem artichoke is in a SHTF situation, an economic situation, or in our case, we just eat them regularly because we like them, because of the different nutrients in there. Again, you heard the criteria for what this video series is going to be on. We're going to cover a lot of root crops, because again, I just like root crops. Root crops you can leave them in soil, but also you can eat the greens off of root crops. You can eat the greens off of beets, although I'm not choosing beets. You can eat the greens off of beets. You can eat the greens off of turnips. You can eat the greens off of radishes. So you're getting the green value, the value in the greens, and the value of the root crop itself. So we're going to discuss this. So the Jerusalem artichoke, that was one of the, I would say, a staple. I would say, if you want calories and you want nutrients, I'm not saying you can survive just on Jerusalem artichokes, as far as nutrient value, but it's more nutrient dense than a potato, and the calories are about the same. And growing them is way easier, and they're invasive. You don't have to dig them up; just leave them in the ground, and they will continue to spread and spread and spread and grow. That's what they'll do. And as an example to show you before I end this video, I'm gonna show you a Jerusalem artichoke plant. So this is that area I was telling you about that I'm growing my basil in, that the artichokes have been growing in. That's the area right there, inside that border. Now outside of this border, right here, is a Jerusalem artichoke. It spread underneath the border and outside of my garden. So that just shows you their ability to spread. They're going to spread, and they're going to take over a section, and you just got calorie-dense food. And I believe that calories are, in a SHTF situation, more important than nutrients. I'm not saying nutrients aren't important. You're definitely going to need your nutrients. Your body will start breaking down. It'll start revolting against you. But you need calories. You need the energy to do the things that you have to do to survive. You can't garden if you don't have the energy. You're just not going to. Your body needs those calories to break it down through the ATP process and use it as a fuel. So just consider the Jerusalem artichoke. That's my number one. And you can very easily put 1A Jerusalem artichoke for myself, 1B potato. But I'm putting that at top because I like something that is very easy to grow, that doesn't require a lot, that doesn't require a lot of maintenance. Again, I found that they are more drought tolerant than potatoes. So again, we're talking about SHTF situation. Hey, if there's no water except for rain, it's something you may want to consider. All right, I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, please don't be afraid to ask. If you're looking to buy something, in my description, I have my email address, hood2homestead at yahoo.com. And then I have my Patreon channel, FY Hood to Homestead. It's all in the description. Bless y'all. Shalom.